I'm Lila, and I am horizontal.
And I'm Grant Stoddard, and I'm horizontal with Lila.
Sex positive culture.
It's my body to give.
Are threesome gifts a thing?
Taking a bath.
I like your bed.
Horizontal.
Horizontal.
This is Horizontal with Lila. Horizontal is the podcast of intimate conversations about sex, love, and relationships that's entirely recorded while lying down.
This is how Terry Gross does it too.
I invite you to eavesdrop on stories that might seem almost too personal for you to hear, which is, of course, exactly why I want you to hear them. In this episode of Horizontal, I lie down with Grant Stoddard. Grant is an experiential journalist who specializes in reporting from outside of his comfort zone, sometimes way, way outside. He's the author of one of my favorite memoirs of all time. When I was reading it a few months ago on the bus, I laughed so hard that I completely missed my stop and had to double back about 10 blocks. It's called Working Stiff: The Misadventures of an Accidental Sexpert. It follows Grant's journey from lovelorn small-town virgin to sex writer at nerve.com. In 2002, Nerve was the very first place where I posted an online dating profile after my friend Marley insisted that it wasn't a weird and scary thing to do. And I met some really influential people in my life. As a budding sex-positive advocate, I began devouring Nerve's sexy offerings, including erotica, photography, and Grant's column, I Did It for Science. Last year, he began collaborating with Kenneth, our community co-founder, and I met the writer of I Did It for Science in my hallway. This episode is the first Horizontal with Lila recorded on the road in a cozy, creaky, and charming Airbnb in New Orleans, Louisiana, where Grant and I, along with another writer and her fiancé, and my boyfriend Alex, were staying for the weekend in order to attend a hacienda play party themed The Year of the Cock. We talk about sex parties, called play parties in the sex-positive community, the alchemy of attraction, the benefits of having two partners, and Grant's first experience seeing female pubic hair. Come on. You know you want to come lie down with us. Grant, I really like your socks.
Thank you.
They're flowery and they kind of match the cherry blossoms on the robe that I have lent you.
They were a gift given to me and my friend on the occasion of a threesome we had with my girlfriend. That's how it started off. We arrived at her apartment and she had like a real, smorgasbord laid out for us. And then we each got a pair of socks.
Oh my God, are threesome gifts a thing?
They are with her. It's like a commemorative mug or something, that goes along with the Queen's Jubilee or something. But we had a threesome. We each got a pair of nice socks.
Were they the same?
No, they were different. I mean, different, but they were of the same type.
Did you take a picture with the three of them side by side?
No, that would have been great.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh. It was a great evening.
Wow. I actually did get a pair of socks from a first date once. I met this guy on OkCupid.
Yeah.
Who was a comedy writer, or aspiring comedy writer. Uh-huh. And he said, no, really, I will bring you a pair of socks on our first date. And I said, yeah, sure. And he said, no, I have all these Gap points with which to buy.
What a smooth talking bastard.
And you know what? He did. And I loved those socks.
Yeah.
They were my first pair of actually fun socks. They were pink and gray argyle.
Yeah.
With little white stripes. And until they fell apart.
Yeah.
I beloved those socks.
Uh-huh.
I never went on a second date with him.
Well, you got a pair of socks.
But I got a pair of socks out of the deal.
Yeah.
genius.
Was he funny?
He was very funny in the written word. Extremely. That's why I went out with him, because his profile made me laugh 5 times in the first 2 minutes of reading it.
Oh, wow.
But in person, he was very socially
Awkward.
challenged. Yeah.
Right, yeah. He's just putting it all on the page.
He wasn't able to connect with me. And he, I think, was very nervous. Or maybe he just is the type of person who seems nervous.
Right. Yeah.
Grant,
Yeah.
how are you enjoying New Orleans?
I like it. You know, I mean, it's just, it's really interesting. There's no other place like it in the US, at least. And, you know, Bourbon Street is,
Gross.
it's a little much. But, you know, it's interesting that just a block or two off, you get all of the architecture and you know, less of the, you know, hordes of tourists, which I guess we're part of.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's really interesting.
But you came for this weekend
Yeah.
with a purpose.
I did.
Have you accomplished would you state said purpose? And have you accomplished it?
Well, I guess my purpose was to participate in a play pie, right?
Yeah, and yeah, I suppose.
And I mean, did I'm not sure that you know, I think I participated, but not in a sexual way. You know, I participated in meeting people socially.
Right.
And being, you know, being in a group of people being sexual, but I was not.
There seemed to be a lot less sex at this party than the parties that I've been to.
I would say that's true. Yes.
Do you think New Orleans, I think people consider to be an incredibly hedonistic place.
It's a big easy.
But maybe it's really considered hedonistic in terms of substances and not so much in terms of sex.
Right.
Do you think that there is some residual repression from Southern Baptist or really fiery hellfire and damnation style religion?
Wow, that's a big question. I don't know. I would think it's just a general. You know, I've always said that people like New Yorkers just have a hunger that comes out in all kinds of different ways, and I think people it's less pronounced in people from other North American cities. You know, there's less people eye fucking each other on the street. I think but you know, like and I just think people are out and hungry. But whether it's not necessarily sex, it could be whatever it is, whatever your thing is. And I think it's just written on the faces of New Yorkers in New York, you know, more in a more pronounced way.
So a naked hunger for whatever it is they thirst for.
Yeah, and I think other places put a premium on, you know, like easing back and taking it easy, and you know, and living in a more leisurely way.
I don't think I got checked out once.
Really?
That I noticed since I've been here.
And
actually.
but in New York, you notice it much more often. It's much more frequent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But also, there's something to the fact that
You did get checked out. Sorry, you did get checked. I saw it. You don't remember when you, me, and Alex were walking around the corner, and those two guys moving. There was an older guy and a younger guy, and the younger guy was about 21.
Yes, no, that's true.
A real bohunk type. and yeah.
Yes, okay.
He all but licked his lips. So that's the one I saw, but Yeah.
I was wondering.
Unless he was looking at me.
Maybe.
No, doubtful.
I was wondering if it has something to do with the fact that our city being so crowded, we are often in such close proximity to people, all up next to people on the subway,
Yeah.
that it's a lot easier to notice.
Yeah.
Whereas in other places that I've noticed that have buildings that are smaller and lower population,
Yeah.
there's just more space between bodies. I remember once when I was teaching acro yoga across the country, and I went to Omaha, Nebraska,
Oh, God.
and I told the yoga students to make a circle. And they made a circle around the perimeter of this enormous yoga studio. And I laughed so hard because you tell New Yorkers to make a circle and they're all right up next to each other because we're so used to being, we don't have that much space usually.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just riding the subway is an act of frottage, usually.
Exactly.
Even when you don't mean it to be.
But the thought of sexuality or hunger in general being less overt here is interesting, unless people are altered, right? Unless people are chemically altered by alcohol, drugs.
Yeah, I got the sense, I mean, I didn't this isn't scientific or anything, but last night at the party, it felt like, we would say maybe 25% of the people from New York and the rest were local, New Orleans, right? And I feel like the New Orleans people gravitated towards the pool, and I feel like the New Yorkers more were kind of like in the rooms on the beds,
I think that's true.
and doing the business.
I heard though that a lot of them were first timers; they had never been to a play party before.
Yeah.
But also, oh my goodness, I've never ever experienced a pool-sized hot tub. I cannot believe he heated the entire pool into a hot tub.
Yeah. Well, we didn't need the Maldives anyway.
The what?
The Maldives Islands. Because of that one act of heating a giant swimming pool to 103 degrees.
Oh no, it's true. It's so wasteful, isn't it?
Well, it's a little... No, I mean, I think it's a great idea. No, I loved it.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tricky. Luxury feels... It's so seductive.
Yeah.
It's so seductive, and it's also challenging to think about the larger consequences of your tiny little hummingbird wing actions.
Yeah.
Right? The thing about the Native American ritual of considering 7 generations into the future.
Wow.
With every action.
Yeah.
That kind of consideration is all but extinct, I think.
Yeah.
And of course, you can't know, but you can imagine. You're imagining, you're extrapolating.
Yeah.
What it might be 7 generations into the future.
Well, let's hope that that pool being so wonderful to be in brought people together and they had conversations, and one of those conversations will,
produce an incredible human who will cure cancer.
Or something. Something good's got to come out of that.
Yes.
And not just pink eye.
Oh boy.
No, I think that water was pretty much hot enough to kill most bacteria.
Grant.
Yeah.
Why? So a former lover of yours from a year ago just happened to be in New Orleans now?
Yeah. Not a year. I've been seeing her since 2012. Yeah.
But you hadn't seen her in a year?
No, I'd seen her socially. We hadn't been intimate in over a year, probably 18 months or so.
And is that just a kind of fizzling out?
Yeah, I mean, not really a fizzling. I just feel like I tend to think of all of us as planets, and you know, people are in elliptical orbits around us, you know, so or regular orbits, and some people are close, and then some people are much farther out into space and only come round once a year or once every couple of years, you know, and after a period of time in which we saw each other quite a lot, I just feel like yeah, she met some other people and I met some other people, and we just saw each other less frequently. But I've always felt the same way about her, which is that she's a very sweet person.
I have a very similar. Oh my God, oysters! Excuse my
It's okay.
my gurgling. I have a very similar image. I call it planet friendship. So you have the planet itself, the nuclear part of it,
Yeah.
and really only about 5 people can fit on your planet.
Okay.
These are the people who your family members on their deathbed, you call them to be in the room with you. Like those people. And it's very difficult to maintain that level of intimacy with many, many people, right? That's why I say a handful.
Yeah.
5 or so. And then the next one out is dear friends.
Right.
So you might call them for solace, and you experience life with them. You have ongoing adventures together or new experiences. You keep connected. You keep up with each other. And then another ring out is activity friends.
Right.
You get together with them and you play a sport, or you meet them for a certain purpose. Maybe you have church friends. Maybe you have play party friends. Maybe you have tango friends. I used to have tango friends. And then another ring out is acquaintances.
Right.
You know them. You know who they are. You know their name. Maybe their image scrolls across your Facebook feed sometimes.
Right.
You might know that they're seeing someone. You might have a little bit of something to chat with them about. If you ran into them on the street, you'd probably stop and say hello, and probably wouldn't turn the other way and go into the next subway car. Unless they were a non-appreciated acquaintance. Which, really, I'm thinking this planet is people that you like, right? This is planet friendship, so it's all people that you made of people that you like.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that I didn't necessarily have to banish someone from my planet when they didn't live up to what I consider to be a close friend.
Yeah.
But that I could push them or slide them to an outer ring.
Right.
And they didn't need to know, but when I had mentally made that decision to slide them to an outer ring, I felt protected. Because it let me know what kind of boundaries I would have with that person.
Right.
So are you saying that she got into acquaintanceship territory?
No, I mean, I just think it was a mutual, an unspoken choice on both of our parts to see each other less often.
And then you took her to the party last night, right?
I did. Well, I mean,
and you had made such a point about this being the first play party that you were going to without a date.
Right. Well, I think it was just a bit of magic that she, that's part of our world now, where, she's just like, oh, you're in New Orleans, like, because I posted a picture, I think, of you and I, at the hot sauce emporium.
Yes.
And she's like, I'm here too. And she's such a sweet person. And, I just felt like it would be weird to not make an effort to see one another, she and I. Mm-hmm. And then she'd been to a couple of play parties before, with me and separately, and I just thought it would be something she'd enjoy. She already told me that she had to get up early the next morning. So I knew that she'd only be there for a limited amount of time. So I thought it was the best of both worlds. She'd be there for a little bit, and then she'd leave, and then I'd have my own solo experience.
Yes.
You know?
Did you get to have any playtime with her?
No.
Did you want to?
No. I was strangely, I honestly didn't feel in the mood yesterday.
Yeah.
During the whole, I think I came to a realization, you know, as you said, every play party I've been to before, I've always come with a date. And then I was kind of saying, oh, I'm going to go solo because I'll have a different experience. But then I realized there's a reason I bring a date. And that's because I need that. I just need it as a foundation, as a like a home base.
Touchstone.
Yeah.
Literally.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel the same way, actually.
So going in and, you know, yeah, I could pick out a few people that I was attracted to and would like to have done something with, but it was very intellectual. I wasn't feeling it in my loins, as they say. I was not feeling it in my loins. And, you know, and which was fine. It, you know, I didn't feel hard done by or anything. But
I think I can actually say that I have felt that way anytime I've gone to a play party by myself.
Yeah.
Which has been rare, even in the cases in which I was working, giving Thai body work, I just didn't want to. I also don't like to play with strangers mostly. It would have to be a very magical instance.
Yeah.
For me to feel so comfortable that I would want to fuck somebody having met them for the first time at a sex party that night.
Yeah.
I had an instance in which I would have, and as it turned out, we wound up having a date a few days later, and I actually found that to be more satisfying.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't actually have the experience that night at the party of sleeping with him, so it's hard to weigh. But I don't have that fantasy about getting fucked by a stranger or meeting somebody and getting swept up or spontaneously rushing into the airplane bathroom. I don't have those kind of fantasies. And I was able to discern something that I think was really important about my own sexuality from Jana's Hooking Up Healthy workshop, which you've taken, right?
Yeah, I've been to it.
So she talks about the 3 barometers which allow someone to be comfortable having sex, and how they're a spectrum. And you fall somewhere along the spectrum. And of course it shifts, but we tend to fall within a certain range in general during certain eras of our lives.
Yeah.
And it's emotional connection, familiarity, and what's the third one? Emotional connection, familiarity, and commitment. And I realize, and it's what makes a person feel comfortable to have sex.
Right.
Because sex is inherently risky. So what makes a person feel comfortable to take a risk or to feel as though they have minimized the risk in a way that makes them feel good? And I realized that I didn't actually necessarily need a lot of familiarity. I didn't need to know someone for a long period of time. In fact, many people I slept with on the first or second date.
Yeah.
And I didn't need commitment.
Uh-huh.
I didn't need to lock it down.
Yeah.
But I needed a high level of emotional connection.
Right.
I needed to feel for them and to feel like there was some kind of care.
Yeah.
And or some kind of magic.
and some sort of feeling that you would see that person again.
Usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether or not it would be soon or years from then, but felt like there was something that wanted to be explored
Yeah.
that wasn't just animal, physical, pounded out, and now I've experienced it and we're done.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever hooked up with anybody thinking that would be the only time.
Oh,
You know?
interesting.
And it stands to reason because I've had very few like one night stands. Very few. Because I'm always, you know, I think, you know, sex generally gets better. And if it's already good, you want to improve upon it, you know?
Yeah.
So I've yeah, it's funny. I've never had that experience of sort of mutually using another person and them using me for a thing.
I have. I didn't really feel very good afterwards.
Huh.
I felt nauseated, and I felt cold, and I felt empty.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And it was someone that I had a crush on in college.
Yeah.
Named Tim.
Oh, Tim.
And Tim was kind of Abercrombie and Fitch gorgeous, and I appreciated him from afar during college. And then I didn't go to many parties, but I was living in Greenpoint, and there was a party of theater kids from my program after we'd graduated, somewhere during the year after we'd graduated.
Yeah.
And I went to this party and was set on taking him home with me,
Yeah.
and managed to do it. I used to play that as a game when I was younger because I was so insecure about my looks, but I knew that I had charisma and tried to derive a feeling of power from that. And so I would walk into a room and zone in on someone and decide, I was going to get that person's number.
Yeah.
I was going to take that person home. And I did. I took him home that night. And it was one of the worst sexual experiences I've ever had.
Oh dear.
This is not a terrible thing always, but he was very, very big, very thick. And his cock
This sounds terrible.
kind of hurt.
Right.
No, I'm... And I had not yet learned to use lube. Nobody told me
Yeah.
until a few years after college. And I confessed to a friend of mine after acting class that sex always kind of hurt. She's like, oh my God, you need lube.
Right.
I said, lube?
Yeah, yeah.
Like KY jelly? You know? And she sent me to get Astroglide. Like, that's
Yeah.
what she was using.
Yeah, yeah.
And it, opened up my eyes.
Oh, right.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. My second lover had used it, but I never got in the habit of keeping it or having the right tools on hand, which now I want all the tools on hand.
Yeah.
I want a great toolbox, but I just didn't even think of it in my
Let's go back to Tim though.
early 20s. Tim.
So yeah, very thick, but it wasn't just his physical characteristics that made it bad.
No, not at all. So he was drunk, and his breath smelled like beer. I hate the smell of beer.
Oh.
And he was inside me, on top of me, missionary style.
Classic.
Which I love. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, and I was kind of arching my back and throwing my head back, maybe to try and pretend that I was enjoying it, I guess. And maybe also to try and not have a double chin.
Wow. Yeah.
Sounds
like you were really in the moment.
Me, Grant.
Yeah.
It's true. I wasn't. I really wasn't. And he said, You really are quite pretty.
Huh.
Which means he didn't think so before.
Uh-huh.
Right? And I wasn't really honored by the fact that he thought so now, that he had his huge cock inside me and was essentially barely moving it. And then my friends and I joked for about a year, well, I'm Tim and I don't have to move it at all. Like thinking that his cock was so big that nothing needed to be done for him to please a woman.
Oh, I see.
I don't know that that's actually what was going on in his psyche. He may just have been drunk. He may have been inexperienced for all his good looks.
Well, we're talking
or he
about a
may have-
20-year-old kid, right? Or something.
Right about there.
I mean,
21, 22.
to sort of deconstruct or delve into what we perceive to be the inner workings of the adult mind of a 20-year-old boy.
Yeah, if we think about it now, 20-year-old boy, wow.
God knows what he... I mean, I'm sure he thought he was trying to be so smooth, or I'll drop this little nugget and she'll take it with her forever. I don't know. Who knows what he was thinking?
I don't know, but I felt very inadequate and not appreciated.
Oh.
Not beautiful from that comment. You really are. You really are. You really are. You know, other people say that you're really unattractive, but actually you really are quite pretty. You know, that's how I heard it.
Right.
Anyway, and of course he came, I didn't, and that was that.
Right.
Very disappointing.
Well, let's hope he wised up since
It's
then.
improved since then.
Yeah.
Tim, if you're listening, we have a lot of sex ed programs at the villa, and Kenneth Play is an amazing educator, and he can teach you how to find the female G-spot in case you...
Poor Tim, he's had years to,
It's been
up his game.
several
I certainly wouldn't want to be,
judged.
yeah, or based on some of my performances up until the age of like my mid to late 20s. It was still very much trial and error,
Yeah.
And I always think like if some of the women I slept with when I was younger, upon hearing that I am often described as a sexpert, they just must die laughing, or I don't know what they think.
Well, maybe they think you got educated in the meantime, right?
I guess, yeah.
You wised up. You
Yeah.
did your 10,000 hours of mastery.
Yeah.
Do you think that you have had 10,000 hours of sex?
No.
That's really a lot.
It is a lot. And if you think, well, I mean, I don't really want to, this is not a math show, so I don't want
It's
to
not a math show.
get into it, but like...
In fact, I apologize for bringing math into it. Let's just move on.
Yeah, okay. But the answer is no, I don't think so. But yeah, but it's not a black and white thing. You don't go, oh, I suck. 10,000 hours. Oh, I'm amazing. So, I mean, it's a gradual thing, and I've done enough. Yeah, I've disappointed enough people along the way that I've gotten better. Yeah.
That sound was Grant scratching his whiskers.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's. I always think that there's probably I've been called the best and worst lover a woman has had in the same week.
In the same week?
Yeah.
Please tell me about this.
No, I just think I could. I've been really appreciated.
Wait, by different women, not by the same
not
woman.
by the same one.
Oh, I thought it was the same one.
No, unless she had like multiple personality disorder. That no, by different ones in a very short period of time. Just a chemistry thing.
I was about to say, we call it chemistry, and it is in a way. I think of it really more as alchemy, because there is something that is unexplainable, that is
Right.
not quantifiable. In chemistry, theoretically, you can account for all the substances
Yeah.
and all the variables, and you understand a bit about how they're going to react. But actually, you never know how the substances of people
Yeah.
are going to react with one another. You can set people up. You can think, oh, they'd be perfect for one another. And yet there is that X factor.
Yeah.
For me, it's a lot about smell,
Yeah, me too.
but there's a lot to be said for body language, simple animal
Yeah.
body movements that are undetectable to our eyes, that we couldn't pinpoint,
Right.
that we're attracted to. And so to me, it's alchemy. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of magic, a little bit of God, I don't know.
Wow.
You know, a little bit of something entirely unknowable.
Yeah. Yeah, and biomechanics as well is in there, I think.
Absolutely. There's the practical as well, right?
Yeah.
All of the practicalities, where is someone in terms of their grief, right? How much capacity do they have for love? Where is somebody's ability to communicate
Yeah.
their clear and authentic desires, feelings?
Yeah.
Where is somebody living? Simply location.
Right.
There have been a few love affairs that I thought, wow, but for location.
Oh, yeah, Jersey City is a pain. For so many reasons.
Jersey City. I was thinking Germany, but
Oh, right. Yeah, that too.
you know, but for this person living halfway around the world and their whole life centering around that place,
Yeah.
we might have been one, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
I remember reading that you said,
Well, it sounds like we started talking about sex, and then it's more about love.
but for me, I don't really, that's what I've been looking for. I've
Right,
always been
right.
looking for sex spiced with love.
Right.
And when I finally got it in this relationship, a friend was talking about Tantra, and he said, Lila, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's purple. And that's how I feel about having sex with love. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's purple.
Right.
And I've always wanted purple. But we can go back to talking about pure sex if you want.
No. I just think the two massive subjects in and of themselves. We just went through all the variables, you know, with sex, and we just scratched the surface of
Some
the
of them,
variables.
yeah.
And
A few of them.
yeah, but I mean, expanding it to include love as well. Yeah, of course, it's massive. Also, there's things, just really practical things, like there's things that are like automatic turn-ons for me, and for everyone, you know. And I
Like
remember,
what?
I like feet, and I like butts a lot. And I remember there's a couple of women that we met on, you know, through OkCupid or whatever, and then we went home, and then some of these favorite bits of mine that, you know, I really dig were like, oh no, don't do that, I don't like that, which is totally fine, obviously. But sometimes I'm just saying, like, when it comes to compatibility, when some of your go-to things are like off the table, then you know it's it just sets you back, or it takes you out of your usual thing.
Well, it's an incompatibility.
Yeah,
Right. If
right.
what you crave they
Yeah.
don't like.
Yeah, I know.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
That's why Dan Savage says some people should get a little bit of a license in their monogamous relationships if they want something particular sexually that their partner is not down for.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has the acronym GGG.
Right.
Good
Giving
giving
and
and
game.
game.
Yeah.
So what kind of feet, Grant?
Oh no, I just like them in my face. You know.
It doesn't matter what kind of... I know someone, I have a friend
Okay.
who also really likes feet.
Yeah.
He says it's not sexual. I don't believe it.
Oh, mine definitely is.
But he said they have to be well formed, and it's nothing that can be created. It's not about having a pedicure.
Let me just show you something.
Okay.
Is that a pretty foot or what?
Wow.
I know. It's a shame that my
You could
My
be a geisha.
best looking body part is really, out of view for most people. But yeah.
Grant, you really have beautiful feet.
I know.
I'm a little bit moved by your...
Yeah. So,
Would you like to see my foot?
Oh, yeah.
My friend approved, so I feel like,
Okay.
if the foot fetish guy approves.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Those are nice too.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice. But some people's they look like fingers. Or they look, and they're kind of
And does
weird.
that bother you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like lots of them, but well, it depends on the person, of course, and them being soft
Yeah.
is key, and kind of well maintained.
So do you think any foot on a person that you're attracted to, as long as it's had a pedicure, could be
No,
enticing?
No, I had it. No, there are some foot shapes that really don't do it for me. Like a foot without an arch.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like
I
a
do.
flat foot is not really my thing.
And do you want the foot to be delicate or smaller than yours? Because you have
No.
quite a delicate foot.
Thank you. How masculine you've made me feel.
I mean it
it's
as
true.
a compliment.
They're not giant feet. Well, it's funny. I'm dating 2 women, and one has tiny feet, and one has feet that are quite a bit bigger than mine, or like a size bigger than mine. So, and I love them both.
They're all soft. Both soft.
Yes. Yeah. But my tall girlfriend, we call them bunny feet because they're kind of rabbity, But yeah.
I remember early on, maybe preteen or just early teens, getting turned on, though I'm not sure I knew that that's exactly what it was, and feeling it in my feet.
Wow.
Feeling the soles of my feet, which I never felt at any other time. The arch of the sole of my foot.
Yeah.
And I'm finding it difficult to name the sensation. But instead of feeling it in my pussy, I felt it in my feet.
Interesting. Is there a reflexology connection between... Do you know what I'm saying?
There
Like, 'cause
must be.
there's supposedly, all the areas of the foot, of the sole, correspond to different parts of the body in reflexology, right?
Yes.
So...
Any reflexology experts out there, please tell us, where is the pussy part of the foot?
Yeah. Yeah.
I also remember, and they're kind of bound up in my mind, which leads me to believe that it's around the same time.
We talking about feet and you said bound up.
Oh no!
It's just interesting.
Oh no!
Yeah. Barbaric.
I must have been younger than 12, because 12 is when we moved down to Florida. So I was still living on Long Island. And I had this friend Liz, and she had an older sister. And I used to go over to her house a lot because then I got to hang out with her older sister's friends, who were quite a bit older than us, maybe by 5 years. And one night, John uncovered my back and kissed it. And I remember being so turned on that I actually felt nauseated.
Goodness.
It was so overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
And it's pretty rare.
Oh, I know that feeling. I've had that
nauseated.
feeling.
You have?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Oh, it's usually when something unexpected. Well, I haven't had it in a long time, but when something unexpectedly arousing happens. Like, I remember my neighbor who was like, I don't know, 10 years older than me. Growing up as a kid, I remember watching her change, and I could see the silhouette of her. You know, I wasn't a peeping Tom. I'm just like looking across the street.
Yeah.
And I could see the silhouette of her like taking a bath and putting her hair in a ponytail. You know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my, I can't believe, you know, I just couldn't believe it was happening. And I was just like a bit fully hard, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, retching at the same time. Strange.
Yeah, maybe that's... I wonder if other people have experienced that. It might be...
I think we're just weird.
We are, but there are likely other weird folks.
Yes.
Yeah. Weird, of course, has no meaning, just like normal.
Yeah.
Kenneth says he thinks that normal is the most dangerous word in any vocabulary that refers to sex, love, or relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we think that there is something normal, then everything else outside of it is abnormal. And usually it's much broader what's on the outside of normal.
Yeah.
And actually the truth is closer to the fact that normal is, and I was talking with a sex therapist, Mal, in the hot tub last week, and she said normal really is variety. Normal really is that there is no normal.
Right. It's funny, your friend is named Mal.
Mal.
And do you think normal is derived from like normal, like not bad in Spanish? Normal. Right? I don't know.
Whoa.
No, I just wondered if, you know, oh, that's normal, that's not bad. You could use those interchangeably in a lot of instances, right?
You could.
Yeah. It's normal.
Do you speak Spanish?
Yeah, a little bit. I went to Argentina to learn, which is a fucking stupid idea, because you know.
Caixe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I love the Portero accent.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. It's really fun, and you know, and their phrases, their dirty phrases, are so funny, but it's just, you know, I could read the paper, but I could never have a conversation with someone.
I was just about to ask you if you had enough Spanish to go out on a date with someone.
I don't know. No. Although I did go on a date with,
I did, but I didn't.
Yeah,
I had enough Spanish, but I didn't go out on any date the month I was there. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I didn't have enough Spanish to go on a date, but I did go on a date, and this girl's English was, you know, fenomenal, as you might say in Spanish.
Bueno.
So it, you know, originally I was like, okay, let's just talk Spanish, and then I was, you know, I just felt like, you know, my you know, being funny or being charming or something is like something that I have and something I use to ingratiate my, you know, people.
A huge part of your charisma.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you can't do that, I'm just some dude who sounds like he's sustained a head injury. Right?
What?
Yeah, when
Why
I'm
would
like,
you say that?
when I'm talking Spanish. Like which I'm terrible at. So
Oh, you mean you sound remedial?
yeah.
Okay.
So I just didn't. I kept breaking out, and I'm like, we'll get back to that in a minute. But let me just tell you, you know, because she sounded like she was from California almost. Like she had hardly any accent. And anyway, the point being, the part of my idea was dating and like learning how to speak. Having a girlfriend down there that I could talk with to improve my Spanish. But I was going for lessons too every day.
When I was traveling, I had this idea, or really a friend kind of pushed this idea on me. I didn't wind up doing it, But she thought it would be phenomenal if every city or town that I traveled to,
Yeah.
I got on OkCupid, found somebody there, went on a date with them,
Yeah.
and made field notes about what it was like to date across America and in Europe.
Yeah.
And I loved the idea, except I didn't want to use people.
Oh.
And so I thought that would, and I didn't want to alter it's the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, is it? Then when something is
Observed. It behaves
observed.
differently.
So I didn't want
Yeah.
the person to feel observed and behave differently, and yet I thought it was unconscionable in a way not to disclose to them what I was doing
Yeah.
and to treat them like an experiment.
Yeah.
Although I do think it would have been very, very interesting. Probably someone's already done it. But then we got really granular about it, and we said, well, in order to get a very clear picture of that, we would have to make sure that they're a local.
Yeah.
And it just got too.
Yeah. Yeah.
The idea got much more complicated as we went on.
Yeah. I've always found the way Americans do, or at least in New York, is a lot more straightforward than where I'm from in England, which is a lot of is kind of unsaid, and people tend to not really go on dates, but they meet each other at the pub, and they're in their groups of friends, and then somehow they kind of cross-pollinate somehow,
And then go off together at the end of the night?
yeah, maybe if they have sex, it's usually blind drunk, and then if they do it more than twice, then I think they're like they just assume that they're in a exclusive arrangement.
That's very similar to what Arnaud said to me about dating in France. He said if you go out with someone on a date and you kiss them,
Yeah,
then it's assumed, and you go out with them again and you see them again,
yeah.
then it's assumed that you're in a relationship.
Right.
I hardly believed him, but now you're saying something similar in England.
Yeah, and it's not. There's, it's interesting. Like that, it's not codified. Dating there. It's here. There's kind of like rules, and those rules enable people to have expectations and stuff like that. Even though it's bullshit, people.
What kind of rules?
Well, like, I mean, this doesn't really apply anymore, but people would say like, oh, third date would be sex, right?
Yeah.
And we might not adhere to that or believe that's valid or whatever, but it's a trope, and in England everything's is a bit more sort of like understood. It's just they take it as read. It's understood. This is the way it is, and it's interesting that the UK doesn't have any written constitution. It's one of the few countries that doesn't have a written constitution. It exists over a number of documents, and a lot of it is kind of like, it's up for extreme interpretation,
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's just interesting to me that in sort of older cultures, tradition takes the place of codification. There's an element of, well, this is what's done, and then we don't kind of really deviate from that. Yeah. But here, like you have to have, if you're going to be exclusive, there's no understanding that you would be until you have the talk.
Yes.
Like, should we lock this down?
Yes. I'm very curious about what actual words people use to make the decision that they're going to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
What words have you used?
Well, it hasn't been. You mean like a monogamous thing?
Or a primary or a secondary, but what actual words? Because I find that in the States also, there's a lot of nebulous, amorphous things, and people don't know how to talk about it.
Right.
And often don't want to.
Yeah.
Alex likes to tell people that I asked him, which is true, because what happened was I felt so connected to him that I started, and I didn't have the label to call him, so I just started calling him my person. Who's Alex? He's my person. And then
Right.
everybody would get it, and we wouldn't have to converse anymore about it.
Yeah.
And also I didn't feel like it was okay to yet say that he was my boyfriend
Yeah.
or my partner, since we hadn't talked about it, as you were just saying.
Right.
And so then one day I told him, so I've been calling you my person. And
Yeah.
he laughed, and he liked that, and
Yeah.
I said, we kind of already are in a relationship, but I should probably ask you,
Right.
would you like to be in a relationship with me?
Yeah.
And he looked at me, and he took a moment, and he said yes.
Yeah.
And he thinks it's really badass that I asked him.
Yeah.
I always feel a little, like, tiny bit cagey or a tiny bit embarrassed when he broadcasts it,
Yeah.
because I'm like, why are you telling them that, as though you didn't want to ask me, you know?
Yeah.
But actually, and I asked him that once, why are you telling everybody this?
Yeah.
And he said, because I think it's awesome, and I think you're badass for doing that,
Yeah.
and you're a strong woman, and I appreciate you. That's really where it was coming from.
Yeah.
So can you remember the last conversation that you had where you decided, sure, let's go with monogamous relationship, where you decided that you were going to be in a relationship that was
Yeah.
monogamous?
I think I would say to them, you know, it's funny. I kind of make it very third person, but I'm like, you know, how do you may I call you my girlfriend? I might say that.
Oh, I like that.
Can I refer, or I might, if I was making it more direct, I'm like, are you my girlfriend? You know, I could have said something like that.
They're both sweet.
But in my younger years, when I was definitely not poly, I might have said, should we lock this down? Or should we make this official? Or should we make this just you and me?
Yeah.
Because they're two very different phases in my life where, what one meant, previously saying that stuff was about like locking it down, like making it exclusive. This is just you and I. And in the second phase, what we call each other is really, it's really for us and not for anybody else to really understand, I think. Yeah. But
It's a shorthand, though, in a way, right? It just makes it easier to speak with other people about the person that you are involved with.
Yeah. I mean, there was sometimes it's just evident, like, with one of my partners, like, in the first month we saw each other 2 to 3 times a week, 4 weeks in a row. And then, we're dating, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Clearly,
Is that clear?
Well, I mean, in my mind it was, and when I said it to her, I think she says, like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
Well, I think in the non-monogamous, the ethically non-monogamous world, that is, nothing is assumed like that.
Right.
I wonder what kind of relationship structure you dream of, or you hope to have for your future.
Well, I've got two equally important people in my life, and at the moment, and one of them is married, and is kind of a well-versed poly person, and the other is kind of monogamous by nature, and pretty much in that's just how she operates. So it's been interesting to have these two people in my life and figure out if between them they can give me everything I need and I can give them everything they need. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean,
I am curious about your relationship structure right now and how often you see your partners.
Yeah. Oh, well, I see one 2 to 3 times a week and the other one 1 to 2 times a week.
Okay, so it's about 5 days a week that you are with a partner.
Yeah, and they're long dates as well. Like, it's usually, they're all sleepover dates, right?
Yeah.
And then usually I go from harlot to short order cook in the morning. And, and then I make breakfast, and I often make dinner as well.
As well you should.
Yeah. So there's a lot of cooking, really.
It's lovely.
It's like there's cooking, sexing, and sleeping, and usually over a 12 to 16 hour period.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't leave a lot of space for anyone else.
And then you have a couple days of breathing.
Yeah. Where I usually see friends or catch up. But
do you relish that solo time in your bed where nobody's hogging the covers and you get to spread out?
Yeah, it's nice to have a couple of nights in the bed, but I don't need a lot of alone time where it's just me.
Oh, interesting. When you said you needed some Grant time tonight, I thought,
I know.
Well, he needs alone time like me.
This has been a sort of an extreme. I've been around people since Thursday night. And like lots of people.
Lots of people with lots of energy and lots of intrigue and lots of flowing sexual enterprises and
Yeah, because hanging out with people that like at a play party, I think people that go to play parties are a kind of exuberant bunch, right? So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of loud and a lot of big personalities, and and a lot of pre-existing friend networks that I don't understand or know about yet.
Yes.
So I only needed 45 minutes to myself, but yeah, it's true. I did enjoy having that time to myself.
So I want to go back to your partners. Do you love both of your partners?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you in love with both of your partners?
Yeah.
Would you make a distinction?
Well, you did. No. Would I make?
I'm wondering if you can distinguish it for me.
Oh God, that's tough. That's tricky. To define the difference.
I agree.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, I think so. In love, yeah. And then, what's the difference?
Or is in love, when people say they're in love, is that just a cover-up term for infatuation?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I think I've become more infatuated with both of them over time.
That's interesting. Over how long?
Well, I've been dating one for a year and 4 months, and the other one for about 13 months.
Kenneth says that the infatuation period can last between 6 months and 2 years.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before you go into, I think it's bonding.
Right.
After that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting. The longer I know them, the longer I like them. Like respect and understand them, and and then you just go through more and have more longer chats and but it's interesting that in both cases the sex is becoming more satisfying and explorative as well.
Is that physical or is that
Yeah, I think it's
all
both.
across the board?
It's both, but in previous relationships, it plateaus or declines over a similar time
Right.
frame. So,
And apparently, scientifically, it declines more quickly for the woman, which is not commonly considered.
yeah. What I will say about both having two partners is, I'm still kind of on my. I was married before. When you've got one partner, they have the pleasure of seeing you at your worst, But even though I know these women very well and I spend a lot of time with both of them, because I still feel like each of them is my other girlfriend, so I'm kind of on my best behavior around them a lot of the time. I don't know what I'm trying to, because they're not my permanent girlfriend. I don't live with either of them.
Yeah.
So every time I see them is like a little vacation.
Yeah.
Every date is a little kind of, we close the door, we hunker down and have our time. And I do all I can to make it a good time, for them and for me. And so, I guess, I think having the both of them keeps me at my best for the other one.
How long do you think it can go on like that?
That's not to say that I haven't, had many meltdowns in front of them.
Yeah.
Both, but yeah, I don't know.
Do you think that could go on indefinitely? Do you think that polyamory, in this case, having two partners, two partners of equal importance to you, could put you on your best behavior for a long term?
Yeah, I think so. But I think cohabiting has got something to do with it. Cohabitating. All right. I don't know why.
But do you think?
Yeah, like I think.
Do you have some sort of? I wonder. I think many people have this judgment that they don't even realize that a relationship is not real, not a real long-term relationship or partnership unless you live together.
Right.
But why does it have to be that way? I remember, I actually don't want to name the celebrity because I don't approve of their behavior, but I remember reading about these two celebrities who had apartments across a park from one another.
Right.
And would wave to each other.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that sounds lovely.
Yeah.
And then you can go back to your own space. You can, of course, spend the night over at the other person's place.
Yeah.
It's so close by,
Yeah.
But you have your domain. And I think a lot of codependent problems and a lot of issues in relationships come from people essentially giving up their domains to move in to the domain of the other person.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's a luxury for people that can live apart when they're in a relationship, because.
Or I would say it's the luxury is to live together and divide your rent. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, no, what I'm trying to say is that like economics comes in, and you're like, well, we're spending 4 or 5 nights a week with each other. Mm-hmm. What? Let's cut our rent and utilities in half, and then, and I know that just the pure economics of that has led me into several cohabitating situations I probably shouldn't have.
Has destroyed legions of relationships.
Yeah.
I think what you're getting at.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. In New York City in particular, perhaps.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I guess, if you're in Des Moines, I guess it doesn't really matter that much, but yeah, it's a big difference.
Well, it might. It might, depending on what you're earning.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not itching to move in with well, I couldn't move in with one anyway because she has a husband and he probably wouldn't like that. But
Oh, you don't know? I mean, I've heard of polyamorous situations in which that works out.
yeah, but I mean, it would involve, they've only got like a small 1 bedroom and so have I, you know.
You'd have to move together, and that would be a huge
Yeah,
commitment.
yeah. It would be kind of an upheaval.
But do you think you might want that if you got to, say, if you were dating for 5 years and it's...
Yeah, maybe. You know, I mean, that particular one, that woman in my life talks about having a kind of a commune of like
Oh.
of lovers, you know, if you will. So she talks about, you know, I'm not sure exactly how serious she is, but talks about all of us living in a space similar to the villa in some ways, but different in that we'd all be conducting our relationships within it, you know.
Yeah, you'd be
with
sexually
each other.
intertwined
Right, exactly.
and romantically intertwined, which we all try not to do to
Right.
reduce the amount of drama we have internally at home.
You say try not to do, but it's not like a verboten.
It is,
Ah,
but I'm sure it's not never happened,
right.
right? The idea, though, is that you know if you're doing it, you're doing something that is not encouraged,
Right.
that is really not allowed, right?
Yeah.
So keep that shit to yourself and don't bring anybody else into the drama. And that's really the purpose of the rule,
Yeah.
right? So that other people aren't affected by your mood when you're embroiled in relationship issues inside the home,
Right, right.
because it can be poisoning.
Yeah. Was this a rule from the beginning? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was told about it my very first interview.
Yeah.
Well, I only had one interview, but when I first came to the house to meet Kenneth,
Right.
he told me about that.
Huh.
And it made me feel so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
But you're not going to weasel out of my actual question, which is, what is your ideal? What do you fantasize about having in terms of a relationship style and structure? How many partners would you want to have? How many lovers? How often would you want to see them? Where would you want them to live in relation to you?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, I'm not sure that I've got a. I don't know. I guess I fantasized about certain people being my girlfriend or partner. You know, that are very. Oh man, that's such a hard question.
I think people are afraid to answer this question because whatever it is, they don't think they can have it.
Right. Or it would highlight the fact that your existing relationships aren't ideal.
Is that what you're concerned about?
Well, I mean, partly. My one partner who's married, I don't think there's any reason for our relationship to ever end. But I'm always going to be, secondary to her husband.
Always is a long time. I wouldn't say anything like that.
Well, yeah, but no, but that's what I'm.
That's what you signed up for, but things
Yeah.
change constantly.
Right.
And you really have no idea what the future holds.
No, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I don't know. I've never really been with somebody who's, when I was married, I suppose, at the beginning, and actually throughout almost all of it, I felt that it was pretty ideal. Although I've kind of wished my wife took, explored sex more. Like I wish that she took advantage of the unique situation that we had, or the sort of,
How was it unique?
well, not entirely unique, but the fact that we lived apart, we were open, and we could conduct other relationships as well. And she just didn't have the time or the inclination. You know, I was the one pursuing different things, and she was quite content with occasionally hooking up with somebody, and then but spending most of her time on her work and the other things that she was passionate about.
Right.
You know?
I was about to say she was probably pursuing other things, just not romantic things.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I've heard that before, that one person really wants the openness in order to have another relationship that would feel fulfilling to them.
Right.
And the other partner wants time to go to yoga and
Yeah.
you know, and write their book and
Yeah.
and whatever else it is that they hope to do with their lives, that they hope to create.
Yeah, that's the conversation I have with my other partner all the time. When I you know, when I kind of float the idea of me going on a date with somebody else or coming down here to a play party in New Orleans or whatever, I encourage her to. I'm like, why don't you go on a date? Why don't you hang out? She's like, I don't have time for that. I'd rather be doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do you believe her?
yeah, I do. She's an artist, right? So she'd rather be creating,
Mm-hmm.
and I've just got a larger capacity for meeting and getting to know new people, and having physical relationships with other people than she does.
Yeah.
But there's things in her life that she cares about a great deal, and she gets a lot of her identity is wrapped up in that, and dating is something that, and meeting new people and hopefully showing them a good time is something that I really get a lot of satisfaction out of doing. I used to do this thing, well, I do still do it every once in a while, where somebody comes into town for like a long weekend, like a friend or a girlfriend, and then I just I show them a really good time. I give them the deluxe experience.
Yeah.
You know, and we go out to some great places to eat, and I show them some unique things about the city I live in. You know, and we have this condensed little relationship down into 3.5 days, 4 days. And I'm on my best behavior, and I can, not that I'm like a nightmare otherwise, but you know, like I can just be fun and interesting and like, and show them things all weekend long, and then they leave, you know, and I don't know, I just get a lot of satisfaction out of kind of curating an experience for people. You know, I like to experience their joy through like if I can show somebody some neat thing and experience it with them, have a little adventure, you know. I don't know, I just love it.
Would you say that you are skilled in compersion?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I am. And
I admire that.
and I like hearing about my other partners' adventures, romantic and sexual adventures. Yeah.
Thus far, I've only enjoyed hearing about my partner's past sexual adventures. I enjoy that very much.
Right.
Like story time erotica. I really like it.
Yeah.
It gets me really turned on. And there have been a few lovers who were very surprised because their other partners wanted to hear nothing of it.
Right.
But I love it. It really juices me up. And I'll bring those stories back into our sex life.
Right.
And our phone sex and our texting and our fantasy play.
But what you don't want to hear about is present, like, well, that wouldn't happen really, right? Because
Not right now.
yeah.
Yeah, at this point, and I'm not sure if it. I'm really not sure.
Yeah.
Is the truth.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm not quite yet willing to find out
Yeah.
because I'm enjoying what I have right now.
Yeah.
So I think that I really still think that many people have trouble answering that question, that ideal question,
Yeah.
because they are actually afraid that nobody will want what they want. Nobody will sign up for that, which is related to why I think a lot of men lie to women. Because I think many men believe if they are honest and say, I don't want to sleep with just you, I have a high sexual appetite, I have a voraciousness, I also have a high threshold and desire for novelty.
Yeah.
That if they say that, women will just run screaming in the other direction.
Right.
And I think actually women are much more likely to engage knowing the risks without becoming very angry later.
Mm-hmm.
That it's much healthier to lay that out, give them the option, and then they may, let's say, bruise themselves on you emotionally, but they know that they made the choice to do that. So then they can own up to themselves that they made that choice and perhaps make a different choice in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really know exactly what kind of relationship structures or styles I want, but right now I imagine that what I would like is to be free, to flirt as I please and engage as I please, and for my partner not to have that option. But I do not think that is fair.
Right.
Yet, I know a couple, very, very happy couple, with an incredible dynamo of a woman who's the really dear friend of mine. She is a acupuncturist and a kind of a sorceress in a way, an incredibly powerful woman, an athlete. And her husband is not interested. He's like, why do I want to do that? He's very, he's European, so he's got this very, not that all Europeans are this way, but his kind of European has this very flat affect. And he's kind of, why do I want to do that?
Yeah.
It's just more trouble than it's worth. Right? He's not interested.
Yeah.
And she requires lots of attention and flirtation and input
Yeah.
in order to shine as brightly as she does.
Yeah. Yeah.
To light up.
Yeah.
And he is actually genuinely okay with it, which I think is quite astonishing, but it shows me that there are so many more possibilities than we might think.
Yeah.
Being raised in most of us quite a narrow-minded idea of what relationships must look like.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that idea, like asymmetrical rules. You know.
Oh my God, it was a revelation to me
Yeah.
when a polyamorous man that I knew, or maybe he wasn't polyamorous. No, he is. He's polyamorous because he did have a secondary partner who he loved, and they were in a triad. So I guess theoretically they were all equal, but they weren't.
Right.
Him and his wife were their relationship was paramount, and I think the third wound up becoming very hurt, which I imagine is actually quite common. But I remember one night he told me that she had been allowed to have sex with women for a year. And he was monogamous for that year because she's deeply bisexual and really felt the need for a female lover.
Yeah.
And maybe even actually more towards the lesbian side of the Kinsey scale, because she is more sexually interested in women, but he would say, you know, this is my soulmate.
Right.
She is my twin flame. This is my soulmate. And then they were married. And I'm coming from this very East Coast mentality of, and perhaps also has something to do with my astrological sign, maybe, of what's fair, of fairness.
Yeah.
which is also a very difficult word when you apply it to relationships. And I said, well, but that's not fair that you didn't have that freedom as well. And he said, it doesn't have to be equal to be balanced.
Mm.
And that head explode.
Mm-hmm.
And I've carried that. I wasn't able to engage with him because I couldn't stand being... He said, she is the sun and all other women are the stars or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to be a star in the stratosphere, you know?
Right.
Paling in comparison to the sunlight, as it were.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. But that has rung with me for years. It doesn't have to be equal
Yeah.
to be balanced. And then the question is, in each alchemical relationship, how do you balance it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a balancing act, right? Nothing, even Cirque du Soleil performers, they're not in perfect stillness when they're balancing.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to see a close-up of an acrobat in a handstand, you would see the weight shifting back and forth between their fingers, the fingertips, and their knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
Because balance, as I often tell my yoga students, is constant adjustments to the reality of the given moment.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is it's so unsettling. It's like being on a ship.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm joking, relationship, but you know, with the ocean constantly moving underneath you, how can you get your bearings? How can you make sure that you're not seasick
Yeah. Yeah.
as you're trying to stay upright, stay in a way that feels grounded?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I fell into the water, fell into the sea. That's all I have right there.
Wow. Yeah. You've got a nice voice to listen to.
Thank you.
What do they call that? You know, that type of sound when someone talks and your head fizzes.
And your head fizzes?
Yeah. You know, it's called, it's got an acronym, but it's just like a certain type of quality, usually of a woman's voice. And it produces these sensations that you feel in your ear and across your scalp. You don't know what I'm talking about?
I know the sensation. I didn't know there was a word for it.
Yeah, there's an acronym.
This would be a long acronym. I was going to say it's not mellifluous, is it?
No.
Because that would not make a very good acronym. Who would remember that?
No.
It's a lot of letters.
But yeah.
I'm fascinated. I want to know.
Yeah, it's this like soothing but exciting thing that I was getting at.
Did it feel like little electrical impulses?
Yeah. Or one of those, you know, that metal thing.
Yes.
It feels a bit like that.
What is that called? A brain teaser? The thing that looks like an open-ended whisk?
Exactly.
With little
Yeah.
beady
I forgot what that thing's called.
fingers.
Yeah. The Extasizer or something. But yeah.
I love the way that feels. Did you know that in Portuguese, there is a word specifically for affection that happens on your head?
No. What is it?
It's called cafuné.
Uh-huh.
So it could be hair braiding, it could be massaging of the scalp, it could be running your nails in circles.
Yeah.
And all of that is under the umbrella of cafuné.
Huh. I did not know that.
Isn't that delightful?
It is.
Brazilians. You know I'm half Brazilian.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. They think I should get a Brazilian on the show because they have very different things to say. You know, in
I
Brazil.
thought you meant you would get a Brazilian on the show,
Oh my God.
and then
No. Oh,
it
I
would fit
stopped
in with the
getting
theme.
those years ago.
You would be horizontal.
I would.
Yeah.
I would in great pain.
Yeah.
And perhaps most men don't know just how painful that is.
Yeah. I can imagine. Well, I've had my legs waxed. But I know it's different, but yeah.
My ex, because I was doing it for him, he said, "Well, I'll try it. I'll do it for you. I'll get my balls waxed."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did he?
He screamed. He
Yeah.
squealed.
Were you with him? Oh, you did it.
I didn't do it.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't.
But you went with him to, or he just told you that he screamed
He
and squealed?
told me.
Yeah.
He told me. And I could envision it because he had quite the squeal.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a strange situation where he had this public voice. And unlike a majority of the men in the world, his public voice, he pitched up.
Oh.
It was high-pitched
Yeah.
and kind of screechy.
Yeah.
And when I was with him privately in his home, he didn't talk like that. He had actually a very nice voice.
Yeah.
But he had this strange, almost like comedian-esque pitch
Yeah.
to his voice. And it certainly carried. And I know that, from knowing what I know about him, he had a desperate need to be noticed. So I understand where it came from. But I was always surprised that someone who ascribed to very traditional notions of masculinity would pitch his voice so high in his public life.
Yeah. Wow, that is strange. Yeah.
And maybe it's that his need to be noticed was so much greater than his need to be masculine.
Warring factions in the head. Crazy.
I love that. I think that's delightful.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoy your voice as well.
Oh, good. This is after practically zero sleep and a lot of drinking and talking.
Oh, it has a wonderful gravel to it.
Yeah. It doesn't usually, I don't think. And also being horizontal, I think, changes it.
Definitely,
Yeah.
which is why I wanted to record that way, because how many people, aside from your lovers, do you get to experience their horizontal voice?
Right. Yeah, no, you're right.
And usually I'm going to use the word delicious again.
Yeah.
It's so delicious to be that away, away with someone. So you didn't sleep last night. You stayed up all night at the party.
No, well, I stayed up till about 8, and then
Oh my God.
we kind of got some drug-addled, I'm not going to call it sleep, but rest.
What did you take?
Just some MDMA.
Why do you grimace when you say that?
No, because I was unsure about whether I was going to call it Molly or not.
Is it the same thing? I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's essentially a happy drug, from what I've heard?
Yeah.
An upper that makes you want to be touched?
Yeah, and just, increase feelings of empathy and wanting to be near and close.
Oh my God, if I increased my feelings of empathy, I would probably weep for hours.
Oh God. Yeah, but you tend to feel happy. Yeah. And everything feels good, but everything was feeling good already. I mean, I was in a superheated swimming pool.
That had
That was full
a
of naked
waterfall
people. Yeah.
cascade going over a beautifully landscaped cove of rocks.
I know.
With LED lit magic
balls.
crystal balls.
Yeah.
And a bunch of naked people,
Yeah.
many with interesting tattoos and,
Yes.
and marks upon their bodies.
Yeah.
I saw you getting pretty cozy with someone for long hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't though consummate.
What? No, we just hugged. Because like I said, I don't think I was feeling very without like my familiar partner or just a partner in general that was going to be my sort of adventure partner. I just didn't feel very sexual, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Grant,
Yeah.
will you tell me a story? Oh, what a reaction.
I'll tell you a story. Yeah. Yes is the first part.
Thank you.
And then I'm just trying to think of which one.
It can be any kind of story. It
Yeah.
can be a story you loved in your childhood. It can be a great adventure story, a historical story. It can be a story of your sexual exploit. It can be about traveling. It can be about anything.
I'm just trying to think of something that I could tell you that would titillate you. But
maybe lower the bar a little. How about arouse my curiosity or or interest me?
yeah, I don't know. There was this one time. I guess I was 12, or maybe 13, 12 and a half, 13, and I was on vacation in England with my parents at a beach resort, and I remember, being on the beach and looking at this girl. She was a few years older than me. I was 12 or 13. She was 15, but she was like developed, right? She was in the throes of. She had boobs, is what I'm trying to say, and she was topless, but she was playing like, kind of like with a bat and ball with her dad, right, and she had these little bikini bottoms on, and it was evident that like she had pubic hair because they were kind of see through. And I was just so aroused by it and taken aback that I got in my inflatable dinghy and rowed out to sea, just so no one could see this painful erection that I had.
Oh.
And I was just like, maybe I'll just stay here till it goes down, and then I can row back in and not cause a scene, So anyway, I row out there, and then I see her like dive into the waves, and then she starts swimming towards me, and I was just like, oh my God. She keeps coming closer and closer. I'm like, oh no, she's headed right for me. And then she props her elbows on the side of my dinghy and kind of like muscles her way up, so she's now fully topless and just like hanging out on the side of my boat. And she's just like, hey. And she told me her name. I was like, hi. And, and I'm kind of like positioning my body so she can't see what's going on down there. And then she's like, oh, are you here with your mum and dad? I'm like, yeah. We had a really benign conversation. I was like, how about you? And she's like, yeah. And, and then she's like, all right, then see ya. And then, she'd splash back in the water and then swim back to shore. And I knew that if I didn't masturbate then and there, I was going to have an aneurysm, right? That I needed to get it out. But up until this point, I I only masturbated a certain way. Not with my hand. I would just basically hump the carpet, right? Mm-hmm. And it was the only way at that time that I could get off. And I was actually led to believe, because I was circumcised, and English kids usually aren't, right? And other kids had said, oh, you're circumcised, you can't jerk off, right? And truly, whenever I tried to, it didn't feel very good that way, So I would lay face down on the carpet, pop my penis over my waistband of my pants, and just like rock back and forth. And then that would create the good sensation and then a feeling of orgasming, even though, I wouldn't ejaculate, right? So, but I was out on this dinghy and I didn't have the luxury of humping the carpet, because I was in this tiny little inflatable boat, right? So I just jerked off in the normal way, and it felt amazing. And that was the first time that stuff came out, I was just like, oh my God. And then I was like, I'm a man now, stuff is coming out. This is how it is, and it was just so funny that the first time that I tried it in that position was also the first time that I ejaculated, and also the first time that I felt like I needed to do it, otherwise my brain would boil or something, and yeah, and I got the poison out, and then I rowed back to shore, and then that was it. And then from that point on, I changed up my masturbation style. So there.
And stuff came out every time.
And stuff came out. Although I probably did it 10 more times that day, and by the 8th time, no stuff was coming out. But yeah.
Like a new trick. Why do you think that suddenly...
Wait, there's a story and a Q&A.
Shoot.
No, go for it.
No, I screwed it up. We're done. Thank you.
Okay.
The end.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to take us out of the episode. I want you to take us out of the episode.
By saying...
That's what's horizontal.
That's what's horizontal.
Yeah.
That is what is horizontal.
That's what's horizontal.
That's what's horizontal.
As in, that's what's up.
Oh.
That's what's horizontal.
I understand now. So yeah, Lila, that's what's horizontal.
I have huge appetite.
Horizontal's theme music was created by Alan Markley on Instagram as Plastic Cannons. To subscribe to Horizontal with Lila, for the show notes and links to topics we discuss in the episode, as well as some sensual horizontal photos and all the other good stuff, head to horizontalwithlila.com.
Yay! That was big and easy.
Show me your boobs.